And welcome everyone to another Logan Community Starcraft event. This is Game 2 of the MSL Code A Winners Bracket Finals. It's a matchup between, I previously called him Unica. It turns out I can't read. It's Uncia. I'm going to call you Unica because that's what I called you the whole other time. And his opponent up here, Stefanovich. And casting with me this evening is my good friend Nibbling. You can hear him over there. He's in fact casting from the inside of a Terran starport, in case you're wondering what that crazy noise in the background is. And I think I'm gonna let Nibbling do these intros here.
Sounds good. Forgive the new Banshee pilot in the background here. We've got the Scouting Overlord. Correct move, not moving directly across the map, but moving in a around the perimeter, because you never know on these maps whether you're going to spawn across from each other or not, so you may as well take the shortest route first, especially if you're a floating balloon full of lead, like an Overlord. The probe actually, ironically, going for the same spot. They'll probably run into each other over there. With a large map like this, it's going to be, I would think, quite different gameplay than our last game. Logan, what would you want to see out of our players with the map change?
Okay, so yeah, so we are here on Star Station. I neglected to say that Uncia or Unica, whoever the pink Zerg in the bottom left-hand corner is, he did get that first expansion down without a problem, because remember, this is a 4-player map. So, like you were saying, you had to scout everywhere, and in reaction to that, we do have Stefanovich going with his Forge Fast Expand again, anticipating that there is a fast expansion coming out. It looks like that is, in fact, completely true. And so because of this map, this Star Station, is a really large map with one of the same defining characteristics as Cloud Kingdom, which that being the side of the main. That huge ledge right there is just super annoying. So I would not be surprised at all to see some more Blink Stalkers out of Stefanovich. But one other feature about this map is look how ridiculously open it is.
It's true.
There's so much open space here. In fact, and so generally what you end up happening is there's actually faster, more mobile units can actually get your opponent really out of position. And because there's so much area here in the middle of the map, you're actually able to surround them completely. So it's a big, important thing to remember when you're moving out there with some of these larger Protoss units, some of the more costly ones, like, you know, for instance, Colossi. Colossi are excellent, but they work much better in straight lines. They're much like Jet Li in the one. I don't remember the name of the one that liked to fight in straight lines, but he was very good at that. Whereas the alternative was the other Jet Li from the one that liked to fight in circles. And I think you're going to see a lot of that here is the engagement's going to the player that uses the spaces in this map a little bit more correctly.
I can see that, totally. I am liking, out of Unica here, a spawn point, or excuse me, a rally point across the map. Definitely a must on these large maps, because if you wait until you need a unit to regroup, often you're going to lose whatever advantage you had. So the rally points are definitely a good move, which I'm not seeing out of our Stefanovich yet. Yeah,
generally with the Forge Fast Expand, first of all, you take forever to get units, and so you have to play passive for a while. And the other thing is that usually you have a wall that's actually a wall instead of just an opportunity for a run-by. Just kind of want to point that out. This Zealot standing right here, it's a great Zealot. I'm sure he's quite good at his job. In fact, he's got the cool new skin on him. He looks even more intimidating.
Just not quite fat enough.
Yeah, they need heavier set. Maybe like an Immortal would plug that hole a little bit better. Dragoon would never learn how to get out of there. For those of you that haven't played Brood War, look up what a Dragoon is and how terrible it is at walking.
You probably wouldn't even have to do hold position. It would just run up against that cybernetics core. I wanted the Y building because that's the shortcut. Names are important, right?
Yeah, no, it's true. BY, got it.
Cool.
That's what it is. So early gases, or relative. So we have both gases up from Stefanovich. We do have the mothership core out, and he has thrown down both of the other gases. So he will start teching up quite quickly, and he's going to be pretty soon a pretty large and dominating force if he's left unchecked. Now, to prevent that, Unica, I'm just going to keep calling it the Pink Zerg. I'm terrible with names. I apologize for that, but not really, just because no one ever told me how to say it. He does have that expansion down. It's almost done. I just don't know if it's out quite soon enough to be able to really benefit before some of this other tech comes online, because we do have the robotics facility out already. But I'm mostly just wondering where in the world this resource bump that's going to be coming in now with both of these gas geysers being saturated, and where all that money's actually going to go.
I don't know, but we got a brave mothership core here, which is fine. I mean, we've got no anti-air other than Queens, and we've discussed how well Queens travel to the third expansion.
You know, that's true, but I actually really love what the Pink Zerg is doing here. See what I did there? He's actually actively spreading the creep threat. This is a 4-queen opening. This is actually something really similar to what Scarlet has done in the past. And it's one that's used quite specifically for creep spread, because generally if you only have 2 queens and your bases are not close enough together, it takes forever for them to get anywhere. And as of right now, the bases are touching in creep because of the creep spread from these additional 2 or 3 queens.
It's true. And oh, he saved the mother core barely, mothership core. So yeah, that was good queen pull. And on a large map like this, that creep spread's going to come super handy. So if he keeps that up, that's looking really good in his favor.
You know, I completely agree. I think that's really important. I really like also another thing. A lot of players forget to be really active out on the map. And here we can see Unica gonna have a problem with that wall. Okay, he does get a good scout off, or he could have, but he's gonna take out the shields of the sentry and then be satisfied with that. That's one of the problems of this larger wall. He did get the force field down in time, so good job watching the mini-map and just watching the map in general. But if you plug a hole of size 1, he waited for the force field to time out and the sentry to get out of energy and simply ran into the base. Excellent job there. It looks like a lot of these Zerglings are going to go down, but not without being really annoying. Focusing down the probes that are going for gas, that's an excellent job. A lot of times people forget to put things back in gas, and I'm really surprised he's not microing. Stefanovich, you're not doing anything. They've taken out way more units than they should have.
Agreed. I mean, that was an excellent play. Running straight up the map was the perfect thing to do. With your Zergling split, there's no way they're going to do well against the Immortal, and he did a lot of econ damage right there. I mean, look at that. 14 workers killed, and I really like what Unica did right there. As he saw that there was only 1 sentry preventing or blocking that ramp, or that small opening, and he saw the force field, he forced out the force field, he waited for that force field to go down, and then just ran right back in because he knew there wasn't another force field there. That was an excellent read. I definitely give props there. And now behind this, so looking at the unit count, we see 29 probes to 53 drones. It looks like, that's awesome.
So what I was saying before is a lot of players are not very active out on the map. This is going to go really bad for these roaches if they don't get out of there. Yeah, they're doing their best.
Definitely time to run.
Yeah, 3 immortals against 3 roaches, or 4 roaches. I'll give you a hint.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the roaches. But generally, so even just putting units at the front of your opponent's base, even if they can't attack them, but their opponent can see them, it can cause a huge problem. For the other player.
You're talking bottleneck it?
Yeah, well, they can't really move out without the other player knowing what's going on. And so it also sometimes, especially against other Zerg opponents, it can actually force out a large number of units just by having an army. Like if this army was sitting out right here, right outside of the creep, or right on the very edge of creep, even if they didn't push in, if the Zerg player is wanting to build drones but feels pressured because there's an army standing right there, you can actually do economic damage without actually killing drones, just by making them make units.
Oh boy, we got ourselves the proxy pylon in the 4th, but he sees it, and I'm pretty sure it's going down, despite the good force field play.
Yeah, it was a decent force field. There wasn't enough energy because it was a fresh warp in, and the other thing here was that all of those units were separated. And so, in fact, Stefanovich feeling vulnerable, because remember, Protoss armies work much better as one large group. And so he was trying to warp in down here and then bring his other forces and then attack at the very edge of the creep. But he wasn't able to get that done. And so he felt vulnerable and actually recalled rather than list cruising some of those important immortals. Also, meanwhile, Unica has not been idle. He's going for that 4th base. The creep spread is almost there. And we haven't mentioned these mutas, but they are in fact here. I wonder... Ooh, he should... Artosis Pylon! It's going to go down. Okay.
There's 3 of them. 3 of them. Not bad.
It's not as bad as it could have been. So those of you that don't know, you should look up more things about Starcraft. And Artosis Pylon is just simply one that powers everything. It really happens frequently in lower level games and single player games.
Truth.
So
you get kind of complacent.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you have 8 cannons and 1 pylon, that's a pretty good example of an Artosis Pylon. And you can see here, so Stefanovich has been defending things fairly well, but because of that economic damage that happened earlier on in the game, he's only actually built 1 more probe. I feel like he's been forgetting a little bit. Maybe, I think there were a few probes lost a little bit later. Yeah, we had 1 more probe lost, but not much in here. Attacking into choke, Stefanovich is actually in a really bad position. He's shoved himself into the narrow point. You want to force your opponent in there. And
Agreed.
All the immortals there.
Yeah, both immortals. Ow.
So they were able to help out quite a bit right there, but these stalkers not going to be enough to push this back. And now with nothing else there, the roaches could have warped in. It looks like he's feeling a little bit hesitant, but he's very wisely continuing to tech up, getting that infestation pit, not simply relying on numbers, although he's going for that as well. He's going to continue trying to focus things down, as there's not very much his opponent can do right now. There's no sentry energy. The mothership core has no energy, so he can't throw down photon overcharge. And it looks like Unica is going to be able to take out all of these workers here if he decides not to pull them. Okay, they're going to be able to escape, at least some of them, with their lives, but he does lose an additional 10 workers almost immediately.
And to the main, where there's no more extra resources left. I mean, it's already almost close to max. I mean, he needs an expansion now.
But I don't see how that's going to happen. Yeah, he does have enough for almost 1 force field. He does have money enough to warp in a few more sentries, but instead, no more sentries. The force field does go down a little bit too late, though. And the immortals, while excellent against roaches, really bad against mutas and lings. There are a decent number of cannons here, but I don't think that's going to be enough to take out all of these mutas. We're approaching murder of muta sizes here, and it looks like this is going to be game number 2, and it's going to go to Unica, or Uncia, or the Pink Zerg, or whatever else you'd like to call this gentleman here in the left that just won this game. So we're tied back up 1-1, so now we're down to a best of 3. I'm pretty excited about that.
Me too. I love to see close matches and good skill play. I mean, both these players have shown really good plays, and obviously one of them is excellent with later or mid-game, and one of them's better with the early. So I'm kind of curious to see, now they've measured each other out, they've both seen each other's strengths, how the next couple games go.
I agree with that. One of the other things is when you go back and watch the semifinal games that got them here, they both had very, very different play styles. One of them, we had a PvP game with Stefanovich and someone else that lasted 4 minutes, and it wasn't proxy cannons.
Wow.
Stefanovich very much favoring the fast early games, whereas Unica, I do believe we had most of the games in that best of 5 that went to the full 5 that were around 45 minutes. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Very, very different play styles. They're meshing pretty well, and I think overall, I think the big blunder here, or the big game changer in this map, the tipping point, was right here at the front when Unica went up and decided to just kind of poke at his opponent's base, saw that there was only 1 sentry there, waited for the force field to expire, and then ran right in, and somehow Stefanovich wasn't able to react in time and lost a large number of workers, and I don't feel like he ever fully recovered from that.
I would agree, because his income was almost half that his opponent's, and his worker supply never increased either. Like I said, he needed a third. I mean, he didn't know that at that point with the scouting, except he should have when he was driven out of the 4th. Because if your Zerg opponent has 4 bases, you should probably have 3.
It's true. If you're going to keep up, you need to stay within a base of a Zerg player. The other thing is, like I mentioned before, this wall, I understand what he's doing right here. I would actually just prefer to move the wall a little bit farther over and leave the gap of exactly 1 unit. So put the Cyber Core over here and leave the Zealot in the middle, and that way, even if you don't have energy on your force field, the Zealot can actually still plug the hole, and you can actually warp in a Zealot in that little hole straight away, and while it's warping in, it's part of the wall. So, just a little tidbit. Take it or leave it. I'm not a pro. I'm some guy in my relatively warm office. So,
yeah, that's fine. At least you're not in a starport.
Yeah, it's true. So anyway, excellent games. Sorry for a little bit of extended analysis, but hopefully you enjoyed it, and we're going to be back with Game 3 in just a moment.